that perfect opportunity to go into dorsal, and if and it and it's so easy to it's so easy to feel as though that it is that autonomic response. It is freeze. It's literally freeze, like don't go out, don't do anything, stay at home. It's really in that dorsal category. So it's like, okay, well, like how can we make it into the ventral category? How can we promote that the rest and digest and the restoration, and so it is that connection, and I think that it's really amazing that there are these ways of connecting, and that it's going to emerge, it's going to merge into even more connecting that we can't even imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I had a friend of mine that put something on Facebook the other day about her son is in the 8th grade, and they're all going to be going into high school next year, and so this was the last time that all these kids are going to get together, and they were going to do their school trip, and they were going to do this, and she feels really bad for them, that they're going to miss out on that, and I had to remind her, like, I get that, I understand that, and I feel that sorrow, and at the same time, like, if you leave it in the realm of unimaginable, that you don't know what's going to happen, like, your kid could look back on this time with absolute joy that they were creative in how they played soccer together now, or that they connected, or they went and explored nature together in separate places, or whatever it might be, that the opportunities are just are ripe, and so in the kids, if that sorrow of missing out, that's being handed down from us, I mean, and I wasn't trying to point the finger at my friend, but it's an opportunity for me to realize, like, where I'm feeling that sorrow for somebody else, it's like, it's a good time for me to take ownership of it for myself, because I don't want to convey that sorrow on somebody else. I want to join it if somebody's feeling that sorrow, and be empathetic that way. But I don't want to be, I want to be minimizing my creation of it and passing it into other people that that are it's not to say that our kids don't want to hear that, yes, we got to go on the class trip, and we did all these things, and this is how it was when we were kids. But there's this chance now, there's this opportunity for new ways.
Yeah, I love that. And as you're talking, it's reminding me, because people have sort of likened what's happening energetically to the energy of grief, right? Because of this virus is something that attacks the lungs, which is a place
Right.
people say grief is held. And it reminds me of what we talk about in organic intelligence, about like the healthy way to grieve, right? Because grief is a part of being human and it's meant to happen. But the difference being, how do we grieve in a way that's oriented?
Yeah.
So like what I'm hearing you say is like, it's okay to have the sadness and it's natural, but the difference is when we're really oriented, we recognize that life is still happening right now. Like opportunity
Right.
is still happening right now. And from this place of being really aware, okay, this is the situation now, and accepting it, that actually can allow, like, this would be what I would add to that, like grief can then roll through in this way where it's like actually integrating the past and the resources of the past and the beauty, and bringing it into the present as like fresh energy. It's not stuck on ideas of how things should be, or what if, or you know, that things shouldn't have happened this way, or whatever the story is that keeps you not oriented. But then instead it can just be this like washing over that, like, oh, now your energy's caught up with you and you can use it, and you can
Mm.
be really like curious, like, okay, here and now, how can this pure energy be used that matches the circumstances, you know, now, you know, I
Okay.
love that. Yeah. And
And
I,
that's,
go ahead.
no, go ahead. No,
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 no, no.
you
Go
you
ahead.
go, you go.
Well, I'm just realizing that's very similar to insight outsight, you know? I mean, which I mean that I mean that's very simple. I don't know that I connected those dots like that, and then I don't know that I've connected those dots that way until just now, and it's so simple. But like that, how closely that insight outsight is to what's the past or future and what's now. What's the past or future? What's now? What's the
Mm,
past or future? What's now? There's that oscillation.
mm,
The same as the insight outside. So
mm.
I don't know, they're just very just it's just a they're just seemingly very similar to me right in this moment.
Oscillations.
Mm-hmm.
Well, beautiful. Huh.